Hi and welcome back to another AnyRPG Development Livestream. In this video series you can watch the live development of the AnyRPG Engine, a free and open source role-playing game engine designed in Unity and written in C#. If you don't already have a copy of AnyRPG, you can pick one up from anyrpg.org/downloads in both Unity package and source code format. You can also download A Lost Soul, the free playable game that I work on in these episodes, from the same page. In this episode, we will be following up on the creation of the custom character stat system that I've created over the last 5 episodes. And now, as a result of that system, health and mana are both just generic resources. They're not hard-coded into the engine. And so this gives us the ability to add some kind of cool features or abilities. And in this episode, we're going to add a life tap and a mana steal. So if you've ever played like World of Warcraft and you played a warlock, there's this ability where you can hit a button and it drains some of your life and gives you mana back. And you can also like steal people's mana. I don't know if they have that in the game right now, but I think they did at one time where you could basically take some of their mana and absorb it back to yourself. So we'll be using some free assets from the asset store for this, and these assets are the Fantasy Effect by Pinwheel Studio, and it's got this kind of cool thing in here. Let's see if I can find it. It is called the Fairy Meteor Spell, and we're going to use this for the mana steal. We'll represent the mana traveling through the air with this object right here. And then we'll use the Fire and Spell Effects free pack, and the one we're using from that is this Ring of Fire, because I remember the Warlocks would have like this fire come out of them in a ring around them when they did their life tap. And for the sound effect for the fire, there is in this free Flight Magic SFX pack off the Unity Asset Store, a sound effect here called F-Ball Light Fire. And let's just play that. So we have the F-Ball Light Fire here. There, that's what it sounds like. It's like this nice sort of whooshing fire effect that I really like. So let's go ahead and get started. The mana steal spell we can actually do right away. Everything that we need is basically already in the engine for it. And then the life tap spell, we will need to write a little bit of code to just enhance the ability system to allow us to swap mana for health. Because we can swap mana for mana and health per health, but we can't swap mana for health, so we'll add like a little remap function for that. So let's just do the mana steal first then. So to do that, we'll need to make a new type of ability and ability effect. So I'm just going to go into my Lost Soul shared content here and look under resources, and then we'll just copy like some base ability pretty much. So the mana steal, I want it to be, I think, an instant cast. So we'll just have it like Blast of Light, because Blast of Light's an instant cast. So we'll hit Control D to duplicate that. I could have just made like any old direct ability, but it's always nice just to copy ones that already are working. So we'll call this one Mana Steal, and change the name to Mana Steal. And we'll make a resource description for it here in a minute. The ability is an instant cast basically, and it'll be auto-learned by the channeler class just for our testing purposes, and it'll be automatically added to the bars as well. And the resource cost will be nothing because we're stealing mana, so the whole point is that we shouldn't have to spend any resource to get it. This is an instant cast, and the cast time is 0, and ability cooldown 10 seconds. Sure, that sounds good. And then it will require a target. It will require that target to be alive, and that target must be an enemy. We'll give it a max range of 30 yards. It will not have any channeled effects, and it'll have one effect when it completes, and we will call that effect just the mana steal. So let's go pick a good icon for this. So the one I copied this from was Blast of Light, so I'm just going to go to the same folder where we have the Blast of Light description, which is the regionalized way of getting icons and descriptions. So we'll go to the Blast of Light description here. We'll just hit Control D to duplicate it, and we'll call it the mana steal description. And here we will look for the word spell, because I went through and categorized everything to have spells, and let's look for something that looks like a mana steal. So we're going to be sucking mana out of them and pulling it towards us. So this blue spell actually looks kind of cool. I like that one. And this blue spell comes from some pack on opengameart.org. Sorry, I didn't know which icon I was going to use, but basically I will find the pack and I will post something in the description there. But you can look under icons for games on opengameart.org. It's one of these packs. I think it might even be like, it's not this one. You know what? I can actually find it because I have these all categorized here. These are 512 by 512 icons. Okay, this image is not fantastic, but basically, yeah, this is the set for this is the set. Okay, that's better. Yeah, that's the icon we're using right here. Okay, perfect. So the set is called Horror Pen. All right, and this is on opengameart.org. So back to this, we're using the blue spell, which is number 15, and we use that for mana steal. Okay, so now we need an actual mana steal effect, so that'll have to be an attack effect. So we will go find our ability effects, and we want an instant attack effect. So under the ability here, we've got lots of different attack effects. I'm just going to duplicate any old one of them. We are going to call this the mana steal attack. And call it mana steal. And then for the resource description, It doesn't actually need one, but we're going to put that in there anyway. It requires a target. We're not going to bother with line of sight. It has to be an enemy, and max range on this was 30 yards. We're not going to do any audio effects. We're not going to create any prefabs. We will do an amount effect, and the amount will be mana. We'll be adding our spell power to the amount of damage that we do. We're going to damage their mana, and we want the amount per level to be 5. So my character is level 16 right now. So that would do 80 plus my spell power, so maybe 200 mana. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. And when we hit, we will be casting something called the Mana Steal projectile. And that is going to basically carry the mana back to our character. So now we need to make the Mana Steal projectile. I thought I had a folder here for projectiles. There, it's under DirectFX projectile. Perfect. So we'll make a Mana Steal projectile. So I'm just going to copy any old projectile, and we will call this one the Mana Steal projectile. The resource description, once again, not really necessary, but we'll put one there anyway. And this is called the Mana Steal projectile, and this is that fairy meteor thing which is going to carry the mana back to us. We will need one prefab. The prefab spawn location will be original target, which is the enemy that we shot this at. And I need to check if I have a prefab defined yet for the fairy meteor. If I don't, I will make one. And it's going to use 1 for the input. Oh, you know what? It doesn't have a hit effect. Yes, actually it does. This is going to be called the Mana Steal Restore. And basically when the projectile hits us, it's going to transfer, using this input multiplier here, the amount of mana that we did to the enemy as damage as a heal to us. So that looks pretty good, I think. So the Mana Steal projectile, we actually want to cast that on ourselves because the Mana Steal projectile will be heading towards us, basically. And we need to be alive for that to work. Okay, so next we need to make the Mana Steal Restore ability. For that, we'll be using an instant heal effect here, and I'm just going to use Ocean's Embrace Tick because that's already a mana restoration ability, and we will call this one Mana Steal Restore. We'll set that to Mana Steal Restore, and the resource description is just going to be Mana Steal. Requires a target, requires the live target, can cast on self, and auto self cast. And I don't think this matters because I think that just gets passed on, but I'm just going to set the input multiplier at 1 anyway. the mana steal restore is going to restore the mana. I'm just going to set all amounts at 0 and set it to not add power to this. I just want to directly use the input amount, and I don't want this to be able to crit either. I want this to just be a direct steal of the mana from the enemy. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, I thought my Ocean's Embrace had like a prefab, but it looks like it doesn't, so that's fine for now. Okay, so next I just want to make sure that I have a Fairy Meteor prefab. So I have a Fairy Meteor prefab. Perfect. It's already created and it's pointing to that Fairy Meteor from this Fairy Meteor spell in the Fantasy Effect pack. And I've made some slight modifications to it. I had to stick my projectile script on it, which will basically control the direction of this thing and make it come back towards my character, hopefully. So now that that's all done, we theoretically actually have a mana steal ability. Let's save everything and press play and just see if our character learns this and if it works like at all. So I have a level 16 caster hanging out in Birch Grove right now near a goblin who has mana as a resource. And you can see I've got my mana steal ability on my bar here, and the icon just looks totally rad. I love it. And here's a goblin with some mana. So I guess what I want to do is I want to get rid of some mana first. So to get rid of some mana, we'll cast a spell which uses up a bunch of mana. We'll just keep on casting Infused Light on ourselves here until we have, I don't know, like no mana left. Sure, we'll just use it all up. Then we'll be able to tell if this is working. Pretend we're doing like a boss fight here or something. Alright, there we go. Now I got no mana left. Okay, so let's see. Can I steal from this guy? Oh, wow, yeah. Oh, look at that. That was beautiful. Uh-oh, he's mad now. He doesn't like me. Oh, and I'm dead. Wow. He's so OP. Okay, let's do that again. Let's revive ourselves here. That was really cool. I like it. I mean, I aggroed him big time, and he like nuked me, but very cool. Okay, Mr. Goblin Ranger, let's try that again. I want to get another look at that. That was really cool. So, mana steal. Yep, good. All right, it worked. Now, the one thing... oh, I have this spell on my... and I'm dead again. Wow, that guy is so OP. Okay. The one thing that I noticed here is that I did mana as the damage, and what we actually saw was like a yellow go up here. So let's go run over towards him again and do this one more time. I'm just gonna waste some mana here. Alright, so let's cast this. When we cast it, you can see I did yellow damage even though I did blue down here. So we successfully stole it from him, definitely, and that actually worked really nicely. I don't know if I want to maybe change that to like minus some resource or another, or whether I just want to keep it at yellow. I think for now yellow is okay. I'll decide later if I want to alter that behavior. Okay, so let's look at another way to get mana back. Let's go ahead and do a life tap ability now. To do that, we'll need to write a little bit of code here. So why don't we actually start? We'll start creating the life tap ability, and then I'll demonstrate and you'll see why we need to write some code and where we need to write that code. So a life tap is going to basically just be like an instant cast that will put the ring of fire and do like a quick hit. So to do that, we'll go create an ability. So under base ability, let's see, this is a direct, it's not really attack, it's kind of a heal. Warming Ray is nice because that's an instant cast, I think. Yeah, Warming Ray is an instant cast. Okay, great. So do Control D. And we will call this one Life Exchange Ability. Resource name is Life Exchange. And you know what I'm just thinking? If I look at this, cool. So we have, oh, I like this. Look at that blood right there. We're gonna use this blood icon from the exact same set here. Very cool, because we're sacrificing our blood basically. And this guy, he's like grinning this evil grin at the healer, because if you've ever been a warlock, you're like, ha ha ha, I have my little pocket healer, I can life tap all I want and I don't have to drink, and he just has to keep on healing me. And yeah, it's good times if you've ever been in that position. So we've got our life exchange ability here, and we'll use regional description, which automatically uses life exchange as the name. Life exchange, let's see, so exchange life for mana. How about exchange health for mana? We don't really have an animation profile. This is just going to be like an instant cast. We'll make this auto learn as well. Also give this to the channeler class by default at level 1. And the power resource is health. And the resource cost per level is going to be 10. So basically what this means is we'll do about 10% of our health. Because this is going to be like 160 because we're at level 16. So let's see what else here. We're not going to use any speed multipliers. Casting time will be 0, and we'll be nice and evil. We'll allow our character to just basically spam this ability every second, and it requires a target. It has to be a live target, and we'll be casting ourselves. We'll be auto self-casting, so if we have no target selected, we'll just cast it on ourselves automatically. And the ability effect will be life exchange. Exactly like our ability name. Okay, and so now we'll go make the icon for that. So we just made a mana steal description here. So we'll make it in the same folder here. We will call it life exchange description. And for that one, we will be grabbing that cool blood, which I believe is 96. Yeah, very cool. All right, and now we need to actually make the heal, or I mean the restore mana effect part of this. So we have the mana steal restore here. What I'm going to do is Control D to duplicate that, and I am going to call this the life tap restore. No, what was it? It was life exchange, right? Because we don't want to directly rip Blizzard's IP off, so life exchange. This is actually, you know what, this is just going to be called the life exchange effect, and we'll call it life exchange, and yeah, just regional description, that's fine. So life exchange, similarly, also cast on yourself. And here's where we start having some fun. So we want a prefab. The prefab spawn location will be target, which is the caster anyway. You know what? Caster, that's fine. And this is going to be called Ring of Fire, and I think I already made a prefab for that. The prefab will only last 1 second, and we will also want to create an audio profile for this, and the audio profile, we'll just call that life exchange, even though it's fball lightfire1 or whatever. And that looks good. Okay, now here we can see the issue. We are going to be taking in mana. However, we need to receive that mana from the health amount that was spent on this ability. And that is a bit of an issue because we don't have a way to remap that. So we'll have to write some code right here, and we'll have to basically we'll call a new field here like input remap. Yeah, input remap, that's what we'll call it, because we're going to remap health into this mana. So let's go ahead and do that. First, we'll make an on-hit profile called life exchange after checking if Ring of Fire exists. We have the Ring of Fire prefab profile, which is already pointing to the Ring of Fire from the fire and spell effects. So that part is done, and then we need to make a life exchange audio profile. So I'm just going to Control D on any old audio profile here, and we will call it life exchange. Set the resource name to life exchange and give it an audio clip of, I think, f_ball_lightfire was the name of the audio effect from the Flight Magic SFX pack. Okay, that looks good. So the next thing we need to do is write the code to remap that. So let's go back to our life exchange effect. And what we need to do is under the resource amounts, we need to add a new string field in here to allow us to remap our inputs. So this is part of amount effect, and the field here is our resource amount node. So we'll go to the definition of that, and we have our resource name, and we can add the input remap. And I'll make a tooltip description because that's not incredibly obvious what exactly this does. If this is not empty, the resource amount will receive input from the following resource instead of the resource with the same name in the ability context. And the ability context is the context that gets passed between abilities that allows us to transfer those health amounts. So that's how we were able to make that mana steal, is when we did that damage, we actually recorded the fact that we did X amount of mana damage and then passed that onto the projectile and all the way back to the character so that he could get restored for that. So in this case, we need to perform an input remap because we will not be receiving mana, we will be receiving health. So the input remap will be health. And you can see the tooltip right here. If this is not empty, the resource amount will receive input from the following resource instead of the resource with the same name in the ability effect context. Perfect. Probably not very useful if you don't know what an ability effect context is, but that's why these episodes are here, so you can learn all about that. Let's go ahead and write the code to actually do that now. So we will need to expose that, so we'll quick actions and refactoring encapsulate it, and then what we want to do is we want to find all references to this resource name here, because this, when we find it, is where it's accessed. So right here and here in this block of calculate ability amount. Okay. So what we're doing right here is we're adding these amounts in. So here we're checking our, and I'm calling this ability effect input. What this is an ability effect context. Here we're checking our ability effect context, which, in case you're interested, basically carries around a list of resource amounts as well as like the ground target location, who the original target was, what ability cast this, etc., as a context into or between ability effects. So here we're basically checking if the amount that we're doing, or the name of the resource that we're doing, is equal to the name of the resource in the ability context. So what we want to do is we actually want to remap that. So we'll make a new string and we'll call it the match name, and we'll set it to this by default. And then we will check for that. Now, if the resource amount node dot input remap does not equal null, and the resource amount node dot input remap does not equal string dot empty, then our match name is equal to the input remap. So now, instead of adding the health amount to the mana, or instead of adding the mana amount to the amount of mana we're going to restore, we will instead remap and grab the health amount into the amount that we're going to restore. And that's it. That's all that we should have to do. So let's go try that out. We got the audio profile, we got the Ring of Fire, we got the remap, we got the cool blood icon. I think that's all we need. So we'll go find our caster character here. Okay, so let's start out by wasting a bunch of mana. All right, and then let's life tap. Whoa, yeah, okay. Just a second, did I actually gain mana though? I don't think I gained mana. I'm losing the health correctly. Definitely. The fire's coming around me, the sound effect is working. But it doesn't look like the input remap is working correctly. Okay, so let's see if we can figure that out. I think potentially the reason is that when I actually spend the resource amount, I may not actually be adding it to the ability effect context. So let's just confirm that. That's going to be, I think, in my character ability manager. Okay, so here's where I spend the resource. Here's where I cast. Here's the ability effect context that I send in. Yeah, okay. So basically all I need to do is just add in the resource amount into this ability effect context, because it looks like I'm not actually passing it through. Okay, so that's easy enough. Basically I just want to go ability effect context dot and you know what I'll do? I'll actually add that right here, because we really only care about that if there was a resource to begin with. Okay, so ability effect context dot resource amounts. And here we can go, I think I can just go add resource amount. And the resource name will be the ability.power resource dot my display name, and the amount will be ability.getResource cost this. And now we should be passing through the amount that we spent on the ability. Also, you know what I just checked here? Okay, good. I have input multiplier as 1. When I was looking through the code there, it looks like we actually do need this set as 1, because even these, I think, will use this as the multiplier, even though it's under hit up there. Okay, so let's try that now. Go find our channeler character here, who's over in the grove. And let's use up a bunch of mana. Oh, actually, that's good. When we saved our mana, it actually saved the proper amount. And let's life tap. I am still not seeing the remap work properly. So I think it's time for some debug messages. So we'll go into the ability effect context. And I want to see a debug message here. Okay, so we'll know when we add the amount that we spent to the ability effect context. Okay, so then we cast and we send that in. And because, let's see, we'll be overriding this, so we'll find all references to that at some point. This is a instant effect ability, so we will be receiving the context and performing the ability effects, passing through the context, checking and making sure that we hit. So this is where we're going to cast those ability effects. But the context that we're sending through doesn't appear to have all of the properties copied over properly. So what we'll want to do in this case, this is done because essentially if we don't make a new ability effect context, then if an ability has like two separate effects, then changes in one context will affect the other context. So if an ability has multiple effects, we don't want those contexts to all overwrite each other. So I think because this ability effect context is getting more and more complex, what we need is a way to effectively copy them. So let's go ahead and do that. We are going to make a public ability effect context get copy. And we are going to create a return value is equal to a new ability effect context. And then at the end, we're going to return the return value, and this is going to be an ability effect context. Okay, great. So now we just need to populate it. And then what we do is anywhere that we actually copy an ability effect context, we can use this method, and we don't have to worry about keeping track of all these things manually. So return value dot, and we'll just go through and do everything resource amounts. Return value dot resource amounts equals resource amounts. Return value dot override duration which I'm spelling this wrong. Return value dot override duration equals dot reflect damage equals reflect damage. This is supposed to say reflect. I need to rename that to reflect damage. And then return value dot ground target location equals ground target location. Return value dot original target equals original target. Return value dot base ability equals base ability, and return value dot power resource equals power resource. And then we can return the return value. All right, so that should allow us to get a proper copy. So now we can go back to where we called this. And ability effect output will be ability effect context.get copy. And now we can get rid of all that code right here. And we can pass through a perfect copy of the original. So hopefully now we will receive the amount that we spent and then be able to actually properly perform our life tap. Okay, so life tap. Oh, look at that. What did I see? 160 mana and 160 life. Oh, that is so beautiful. Let's go out somewhere where we can maybe hopefully see the fire a little better. You know what? That fire is like even more invisible. Maybe we'll see it in the shade. Let's go stand in the shade over here. It's a little better. I don't know, this fire is like really hard to see against this green because it's so like yellow, but you know what? I'm pretty happy with that. Now I can cast and I can cast and I can cast and let's go annoy this goblin and see if I don't get one shot by him this time. Okay, we're gonna cast Solar Singe. Holy cow, whoa, like, whoop, and I'm dead. Yeah, okay. No, he is way too tough for me right now. You know what those... Oh, I see what happened. He actually like distance aggroed me there. Wow. Don't die. Okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna blind him. Blind him. Oh, no, he's gonna kill us. Okay. I think I have to like detune the ranged attacks in this game because they're way OP. Okay, anyway, you know what? I'm like totally happy with this. We're gonna like lifesteal, we're gonna heal ourselves, and then let's go cast our mana steal one more time here, and then he's gonna absolutely just completely destroy us. You know what? Let's blind him. Maybe we can get... Oh, no, blind is not working very well on him. Hey, you know what else I do have? I have life tether. We're just gonna like drain life. Oh yeah, look at that. Life tether, that's the way to go. That's how you defeat these goblins. Nice. And he's gone. Okay, cool. So pretty much that concludes this episode. I hope you enjoyed that. We can now do some really cool things with mana steals and life taps in the game because of the new ability system. So as always, if you enjoyed that, then don't forget to thumbs up the video, subscribe to the AnyRPG YouTube channel, or just leave a note in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.